So, as I was going for a short walk a couple of nights ago, my health has been quite poor lately. I don't know quite what's the matter, and I can't seem to get out of the house and walk. So I really had to make an effort, and I'd got as far. I'd managed to do about a mile, I think I would have been, and I was just exhausted. And there was a couple of people ahead of me on the path, and the the chap was drinking from a can of lager, and they just looked like the kind of local alkies that you get around and stuff, and they were friendly. They were nice. The chap said something to me, and we exchanged a couple of words and that, and we had a bit of a laugh about something, because I think I'd said I was going to I'm trying to cut across the grass, and he said something like he was trying to do that as well, as though grass was referred to marijuana. And it was just nice exchange. I like to speak to people. I don't get much of a chance to do it. And so I went on a bit further, and I knew there was a bench up there, and I just realised I wasn't going to be able to get any further. I was too tired, so I sat on the bench. And this chap and his lady friend came up and walked past, and we exchanged, greetings again. And after he'd gone about 10 or 15 paces, he turned back and brought me and gave me a can of uh, White Storm, it's called, which is what he was drinking, and they had quite a few in the bag, and it's like a 7.5% proof cider. And I sort of hesitated for a moment, then I thought, no, this is, I'm going to take this. This is beautiful. And I thanked him, and he gave me this can, and off they went. And so I started drinking this thing, and it didn't seem to affect me all that much, to be quite honest, although it's quite strong. But I'm not used to drinking cider. It tasted just, not something that I would normally enjoy drinking. It tasted very chemical, but I suppose it's got quite high alcohol contents. And afterwards, you see, this gentleman and his girlfriend, as it transpired, they returned, um, having gone up to the shop to buy a load more cans of stuff. And they stopped with me and we talked for about an hour. And we just had this beautiful conversation. It was just such a blessing. And the fella's name, his name was Terry. He's 48 years of age, and he's got 12 children, apparently, scattered about the country, several of them in London. And he was just a nice guy, but he was an alcoholic, and he was drinking, presumably. I mean, he was drinking all the time we were talking, but you know, he had this alcohol thing. And his girlfriend was really nice. She's ever so nice looking girl as well. She was about the same age as him, a little bit younger, I seem to remember, or slightly, a few weeks difference. And apparently they'd been childhood sweethearts. Both of them had been married since and then split up with their spouses. They'd got back together 3 or 4 months ago, and they were really just praising each other and the benefits of the relationship they were having. It was beautiful. And they were living nearby. They were so friendly and so humble, and it's just beautiful to speak to them. And I just enjoyed it so much. So there was me sat on the bench drinking, seven, White Storm, and I mean, I looked probably all the part of a local alky myself, because I don't think my clothes were all that clean. And, I've got this kind of long beard and slightly wild eyes. So I think I fit in okay. Although I'm not actually an alcoholic. I mean, but mind you, I have been addicted to cannabis. So, I mean, I don't look down on any addict. I understand addiction is something that exists in our society. And, I mean, we do what we can. Um, I think probably, it would be better for him to moderate, because I think, alcohol consumption is probably very hard on the liver and all the rest of it. But it's not really, I'm not a doctor, am I? At least when I think about how alcoholism was treated in the church, it was so patronizing and condescending. Really, because of course, the regular church members would have been nowhere near it. And there was just one chap who started coming, and it was rumored. I don't know who spread the rumor. But it was probably the preacher that said it, that he was an alcoholic and he was struggling with alcohol and all the rest of it. And so, had to be treated in certain ways. And we weren't allowed to have alcohol in the bread and the wine. The wine had to be non-alcoholic. And the preacher told me, he said, I'm not going to give alcohol to an alcoholic, as though that was the worst thing that you could possibly do. Well, I mean, an alcoholic wants alcohol, and we're instructed to love our neighbour. How about that? I offered to buy some drinks for this, for these young people. They didn't want anything, but they didn't want to have that, reciprocal thing, and I respect them for it. But the next time I see them, I'm going to definitely get them a drink. It's no good me offering to read them, from the New Testament. I might do that later, but certainly you're going to start off with a drink, because you have to respect people where they stand, brothers and sisters. It's just such a beautiful experience. Terry and Kirsty, what was her name now? Kirsty, with a K. I can't remember now. One of those K names. And she was so nice, and they were local people. And of course, I was born within it. We were having this conversation, really. You could almost see the house where I was born from where we were sat. It was dark, but if it had been light, you might have been able to see it. So I was totally local. And it was just one of the nicest conversations I've had for a long, long time. And, I just thanked these people. I said, nobody talks to me. I need to have conversations. I love to talk to people. And I said to the fellow, I said, I mentioned the Bible. Of course I mentioned, I said I was a Christian, And he was immediately, oh, no, so I'm not, don't like the Christian stuff. And I said to him, your actions this evening have showed me that you are a Christian actually in your heart. You just don't know it. You've confused Christianity with the church. Whereas the young lady, she said that she came from a Christian family and that she felt that she had Christianity in her. But of course, what chance have they got with the churches that we've got around us? So, full of pride and bigotry. Honestly, these were people, they were talking to everybody that came along the path. All sorts of odds and sods coming down there at that time of night, They were known. And they were friendly, and they were very much, embedded in the community. It was just such a blessing. It really was. So I just thought I'd relate that to people. And, sometimes, I think we see people like that, and, maybe you might be a bit wary, but very often they're the friendliest people on the street. Right, because they've got nothing to lose. I mean, they just get judged by everybody, don't they? So many people will go past with their nose in the air, or people will change path or something to avoid them. But once you've got nothing to lose, once you've really, hit rock bottom, as it were, you just, I mean, they're the people that Jesus Christ would have been speaking to. I'm not wishing to, claim that I'm anything special, but those are the people that we need to be reaching out to and bringing into our hearts, and at some point sharing the word of God, of course, because they don't know the Bible. We have to step carefully, but they won't know the Bible. The Bible has been confused with the established church, and the church is just nonsense. There is a King James Bible church not too far from where I live, about 3 miles, I think it is. And it's one of these places that's involved in kind of street ministry. And I only attended it once because before the actual church service, there was sort of Bible teaching, and the Bible teacher was explaining in great detail how, although the word wine is used in the Bible, it doesn't mean alcoholic wine, it means non-alcoholic grape juice. Now, I mean, that is nonsense. I'm sorry, I am a translator. I've lived in Italy. I know what grape juice is and I know what wine is. And I've read the Bible many times. That's just nonsense. That's just a social justice gospel, because they think, oh well, wine is dangerous because people become alcoholics, the way that the church started to do and started to mollycoddle people. And bring them out of their wicked alcoholism and all the rest of it, and the dried Sundays and all this business. As though it's so patronising, really, so patronising. A man can drink what he wants to drink. I'm sorry, and should drink what he wants to drink. Also, that's just how it is. Now if somebody drinks too much, then they drink too much. We are our own, judges in this matter, apart from, of course, we are under the Lord Jesus Christ. We're not under some local mollycoddling preacher or group of elders. So here was a man who, I mean, he didn't say, his girlfriend said he's an alcoholic, and he didn't protest. I mean, I think he was. There's no question about it. But he had a Christ-like nature about him, which I am hard-pressed to find in the church.